Hi there. Welcome to Have It All. I am your host and the creator, Anna K. Morris, and I'm thrilled that you're here because if you are here, it means that you're interested in having it all, or maybe you're curious about what I and my guests have to say about having it all. Can we? Do we know what it is that we want? And once we get it, are we wise enough to know that we have it? And are we worthy enough to hold on to it? That's what we'll be exploring on the podcast. I'm so happy you're here, and let's get started. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Have It All podcast. I'm so excited to be here with my good friend, Tracey Countryman, who, at this point, I haven't shared much about your castle weekend, Tracey. And we will definitely be talking about that because if you guys have followed it all on social media, it's one of those experiences that I think I'm still processing. And I've been really eager to have you on this podcast, honestly, since I got the invitation. And I have the invitation somewhere around my desk. Yep, there it is. But just for those of you who haven't seen any posts or emails that I've shared about it, Tracey just had her 50th birthday party at a castle. And it's not like, oh, they call it a castle, but it's not really a castle. No, this was a legit castle where 50 of us stayed for the weekend. And I thought, who better to have on the podcast than you, Tracey, because I really think that you embody having it all and wanting more and knowing what your all is. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I know that you're busy. I know you're always traveling. So thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
And I'm going to throw it over to you.
Well, I think it's interesting. So it was castle-like. I'm only going to correct Anna on that because an English person, well, a Scottish person would say it's definitely not a castle.
Right. Yeah.
Real castles. But it was a huge English manor house. And I did have a vision of wanting a castle. But then I thought I can't make my friends fly from all over the world, land in London, then get on another flight somewhere to do this.
We would have, though.
We would have, but I was like, I got to make this easy for people to want to be there and find their way, especially those that have kids and, other things that aren't as kind of free as I am. So it was an absolutely fabulous weekend. So I have taken the last year off, which I'm sure you're going to touch on, Anna.
Yes.
Having it all.
Yes.
And I want to explore more your point on me knowing what all is. But I think probably it's as much about knowing what your more is. When you say you want more, what does that mean?
Yeah. Are you asking me or are you going to tell me?
No, I was just going to say, I think I'm in a year of, kind of discovery about what the more is. And I think the more is very different from what my previous views of more was.
So say that. What was your previous view of more and now a year later?
Yeah. So I was in corporate America since the age of 19. I went to Georgia Tech outside of Atlanta or in Atlanta. I co-opted at 19, which is basically a program where you work 5 years. Yeah, you go to school 5 years to Georgia Tech, and then you work every other quarter for 3 years in between. So you don't graduate for 5 years, but you work during 3 years of that. Okay. Every other quarter through school. And that was with Anderson Consulting at the time. And so I felt like I'd started my professional career, if you will, at 19, because I then joined full time to Anderson Consulting, which then became Accenture, and saw a company bloom from 24,000 in revenue to 750,000 people, right? So it was kind of it went from absolute amazing to gigantic, and I was part of that journey. And it was amazing. And then I decided to leave.
How long were you there? How many?
I was there 23 years.
Okay.
Like from baby analyst co-op to senior managing director, kind of top, several thousand of the firm. Mm-hmm. And it was an amazing ride. And it also, as I got older, I loved various aspects of my role. And me trying to hone in on what were the pieces I loved was the part that became the more important bit of that. Because as you move up, as some of you guys might know, if you're listening to this, you get further and further away from clients or even the teams to some degree, and you're more managing the business and running a business and dealing with stakeholders and shareholders and other things like that. And I realized that actually a lot of that was the part that I didn't love as much as I did like leading teams and people and empowering people to be their best. So I then left Accenture in 2022. Only had a 4-month garden leave, and that was, only the second career break that I took for myself during those 23 years. Like big breaks, and I did take a around the world trip, which I can elaborate on. And then I went to a smaller consulting firm because I had a shot at being a CEO. That didn't go the way I hoped, but it was incredibly interesting learning about myself, going to a new firm after working for one firm my whole life. But also it was incredibly grueling to be kind of going through a process that is that, senior. And it made me really evaluate, like, what is it do I want? Was it just natural to want to be more being CEO and running a company, or the more being understanding what makes me tick every day and finding fulfillment in that for the last chapter or the next chapter or last chapter of kind of my career path. And I think that's what I mean by, having it all. Some people would say, oh, CEO, but that's all. I realized that that is not my all necessarily, and that my more needed to be much more about me than it did everybody else, I would say.
Yeah, I think that we're so quick to think of more as like a bigger title, a bigger job, more money, a bigger house, right? Like all of the
and more impact. But then knowing what that impact is probably, it's very difficult. It's an overused word.
Right.
And it's hard to define exactly what that is without in the context of what it is you have to offer to people to have that kind of impact, right? And I think I'm still figuring that out at 50, after a huge career. But I think you're right that I did think my next step was a CEO role running a company. I haven't ruled that out, but I'll be very picky about what that looks like and in what way I do that, and the kind of leader I want to be when I'm in that role, which I probably didn't spend enough time reflecting on when I went for it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you can really only know once you're in it, once you've gone through it, right? Because we're so busy.
We're so busy. Well, I was going to say, like, your last blog or email, and I think it's actually one of your main principles of your teaching and coaching is slowing down. Yeah. And I don't think I slowed down. I know I didn't slow down for 25 years. Like I don't remember, other than my one around the world trip, ever having time to actually slow down, because I just gave my work my all, and my family and my friends. It wasn't just work. I mean, I was like constantly, available to everyone and everything. And I loved it. And it was great. And then I realized I've never slowed down. And this is the first year I've slowed down. I would say I can look in the mirror and appreciate the time.
Well, I mean, we've known each other a long time in different, right? I think we met. When did you move to New York?
I moved there in 2007.
Okay, so around 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Because I moved in 2012. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, which was when I started going down the coaching and personal development, yoga, meditation rabbit hole, and when I started slowing down. And I can remember feeling a mismatch with the group that we were just with at the castle, because everybody was on like a major career track, and I was leaving mine.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right. And so it was really fascinating, because I can remember like everybody doing all these things. And I was like, this doesn't interest me. Like, that's great. And also I know that like, it's not a match for me. And it can be really hard to put that stake in the ground and say like, I'm going to go a different way.
Yep.
So I'm curious about, and I did it after only 12 years, right? Like what like for you, because I can remember all the times that we've been together, you were constantly on your phone, on a call, right? Derek and I, just for the first time, we were like, was that the most bizarre weekend that you've ever had with Tracey? And I was like, I mean, yeah. And then we both were like, she wasn't working. It was so weird to us. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, you're not the only friend that's told me this. In
yeah.
fact, I had about, I guess it was about 2 years ago. So the year I was in kind of the process of this company and working around the clock, and I was basically doing three roles of three partners, and
you were getting married,
yeah, and I was getting married
right?
to a
Like
prince.
2022 was when you got
Crazy.
married in
Yeah.
October of 2022,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had friends in New York. I went for a weekend, and this would have been in 2023. So I was midway through the CEO process. And I had three friends that apparently got together without me and said they thought they might need an intervention.
Oh,
They told me this afterwards, right? They didn't tell me
yeah,
this during the time, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I was working around the clock. I was drinking more than I had. And by the way, I can hold my own as a New Yorker.
yeah,
Um, and I was traveling on the road all the time, and I wasn't sleeping, and I'd gained, I don't know, 20 kilos. I was kind of all in, but I wasn't taking care of myself at all. And I
right,
think and I wasn't present. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to for the weekend.
yeah,
I was around my friends, but I wasn't present. And that is even unlike me, even in my
sure,
previous years of working,
sure,
that's
sure.
not
That's very
always
true.
the case. And so they really said, like, we got together, we had a separate call, and we said, do we need to intervene? Do we need to tell her that this is how we feel? And that this isn't, whatever choices she's making aren't correct, you know what I mean, about her job or her life or whatever, but we're concerned. It's like red flags, we're
Yeah,
concerned.
yeah,
And they told me that afterwards. And the good news is I knew I was in that situation after I didn't get selected, but it took a lot of guts for me to put my stake in the ground and go, no, I'm done with this. I can't continue down this route and feel good about what I'm doing, or give myself to my new husband or my stepkids, even though they're older, or my family and my friends, which are the most important part of my life.
yeah.
And that was incredibly difficult to step away. And I knew I would take 1 year off because of my non-compete. So it's almost enforced. And I have chosen to take probably what will be 2 years off. When I say off, I don't know if I'll ever go back to the same corporate kind of big job, leading 10,000 people or needing to be CEO. It may be, because I haven't ruled that out, but I'm really letting myself have time to try new things, reconnect with the things that are most important in my life, take care of myself, and be healthy and fit at 50, and kind of reevaluate what's important for the next 30 years, and life is short and things can happen at any point in time. And I lost my father during that time. And that was a real kind of wake up call to be like, I can't get that time back that I wasn't there, right, with him
Mm.
and spending time with him. That I can never recoup that. And I'm just not going to let it happen again, right? Due to my parents or missing my nieces who are growing up or whatever. And so I feel like that sometimes it takes something like that, but sometimes it also takes you failing, which I would consider me not being selected, failure in quote, to realize that that's not the path you wanted anyway, necessarily.
Well, yeah. I mean, I firmly believe in no accidents
Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
or failures for that matter.
Yeah.
And I believe that the universe will stop you if you don't stop yourself. And
Yeah.
so the not being selected, like, it's so, it makes me so happy to see that then, because sometimes, right, like there have been other things along the way, because I watched your career since,
Yeah. Oh, I've had
right, and I can
yeah.
because
Yeah.
being your friend and also being a coach and a little bit psychic, I would be like, oh, maybe this is, and I'm like, no, and Derek's like, no, I think she's going to leave. I'm like, she's not going to leave.
No.
Like this, I remember this in 2016 when we were both living in England and when we got really close. I was like, she's just not. It's like, it's just not it yet. It's got, and I said very clearly, I said, it's going to have to get worse for her.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And I know, because I'm the same way. It's like, I can remember getting promotions, and I had, such a minor role in a company, but when I would get a new job or a promotion or whatever, I would break out in hives. I don't know if you ever had anything happen to you physically where I can remember getting a new job and I broke my arm.
Yeah, I don't remember anything breaking down hives. I guess I've always had a mantra of everything is like if I start to, particularly in my career or taking choices around work, if it's not stretching me, and I guess you could apply this more broadly, I just happen to know every time I took a new role in my company, I was
Hmm.
always incredibly nervous. I don't know the content, imposter syndrome, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, today's
Yeah.
world, right, of coaching. Like it's,
Yeah.
I don't, can I do it? Should I do it? Why did they pick me? I'm not quite ready. All those things that go through your head. And every single time I said yes, because
Yeah.
and every single time I did well, right? Or I did the best I could do. And that just translated to doing well and being promoted or doing something different. And so in my time, the 23 years there, I was constantly pushing myself harder and learning. And I was learning and growing as a leader and as a person. I think that's really important. To always say yes is kind of the quote you just read, that you got from the lady on
Yeah.
when you were here in London, and
Yeah.
it says, just do it, right? You can quit questioning whether you can't, or
Uh-huh.
you can just do it and try it. I mean, what is the worst case scenario? Like you're
Yeah.
like, that role didn't quite work out, or it was really intense, or I had
Right.
to work a little harder than you maybe planned. But it's in
Right.
the end, if you give it your all, it's not all you can ask of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
As you go through it. And so even though I wasn't selected as a CEO, I by the way didn't enjoy the ride because it was so intense and so high pressure. I mean, talk about hives. I was constantly on like like you could
Yeah.
just one little part of me and I probably would have broken, right? But that's because it was that and everything else. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't
Right.
just that. It was that and house and getting married and then all the other things that were coming in and everything was happening at once and the company was really intense and several people resigned and I had to like do their roles as well and I was back and forth to the US and I wasn't seeing my family and I was putting on weight. It was like everything. It was like, whatever. And I kind of just
Yeah.
went, what am I doing? What
Yeah.
am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the moment where you just go, but someone had to almost do it for me. Do you know what I mean? Because I was just in this little cycle of like fear of not having money, fear of like, what if I couldn't do another job? Fear of looking like a failure, fear
Hmm.
of letting people down, my team down that I built so much trust with and cared so much about as people, the women in the company that I absolutely wanted to lift up and empower and give them the chance to
Hmm.
be amazing.
Hmm.
But then I realized at that point I was doing everything for everybody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's all the pressures were because I was worried about everybody else having this thing, and I finally just had to say, actually, I can't do it. And it's the best thing I have done, right? This year and a half has
Mm.
been slow and intentional and
Mm.
thoughtful and not like a massive deep reflection. I think about your journaling things and I think, oh, I really should journal. Um, but the day before yesterday was like, be bored with yourself. I'm like, God, Lord knows I've been bored with myself this year, especially when I've
Good.
been trying to just be like me, what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
reading more. I'm like listening
Yeah.
to podcasts that I haven't listened to, and even it's been on my list for 100 years.
Hmm.
And I do recognize for a lot of people, this is a luxury. Like I have a luxury that I could take a year and a half off and not worry about finances because I did 1 year non-compete and I could it's wonderful that I was able to do this, and continue to do it until I find exactly what I want to do. And it probably will look very different than what I was doing
Hmm.
before. Um, but I do think people can do this in almost microdosing, even in their own life, if they
I
kind of
mean, we
follow
did it.
things that like you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you did. And my toast to you, if you remember in the speech,
Hmm.
I have a quote that, and I don't know why it's always stuck with me, and I can't even tell you who said it, but it was called "I am everyone I have ever met."
Yeah.
I am everyone I have ever met because everyone or interaction somehow in some little way takes this. It could be the waitress that's just like having a bad day and you're kinder because you tip, but there's something, but your cues up and you're learning a little bit more about how to interact. Or it could just be the gardener who speaks a different language, but then you realize, he's got a family and you're just going to pay him a little more, right? It's just there's something about people and how you engage that create a little bit of a different person for who I am in particular.
Hmm.
And my thing to you is work does not define you. And I learned that this year and a half. It was part of my identity. Believe me, I was having like a major like identity crisis. Oh my God, I can't say I'm a senior executive. If someone asked me to introduce myself, what would I say?
Yeah.
Right now, what would I say?
Yeah.
Because it's not that, which it has been for 30 years,
What do you say?
Well, people do start with thank goodness I'm in London and hanging out with a lot of Brits because they'll never ask you what you do as the first 5 questions.
Yeah.
So I get away with
Parents
it.
ask where you live and what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, no, exactly.
And we learned this when we were traveling around the world because we don't live anywhere and we do nothing.
yeah, well,
It would fuck with people so bad. And Derek and I started loving saying it. Like it was weird at first and we like couldn't do it.
can we lean into this? Yeah.
And then eventually we were like, oh my God, this is so fun. Watch how squirmy they get. Like
because you're like, because we're comfortable with that. Yeah.
we were fine, but it messed with us for a bit.
It does. And I don't know. And now I said, I was a former executive. I've spent the last year and a half figuring out what I want to do next. I renovated our home and loved it.
Could you answer housewife one time and just see?
Oh yeah. Well, as long as my husband's not with me. I mean, if he were next to me, he'd be like, "Did you just say that? Like, did you like our kids are grown?" I'd be like, "I know."
I mean, I feel like that would be like role playing if you guys did that.
Oh, yeah. He would probably be totally beside himself. I'd be like, "I water the flowers in the morning." Oh, you didn't mean my daily routine of Pilates and watering the flowers.
I was going to say, and then you go to Pilates.
Yeah, and do my financial planning and figure out how I can make myself retire.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think he would die if I said that, but I'm going to try it. Maybe at the next dinner party with someone I don't know. I should go.
So when we moved to Leeds, we were living in Leeds and you were in London. This is when I followed you to England. And I couldn't work. I had 6 months that I didn't have a work visa.
Yeah.
And I had been building a company in Houston and I just closed it to move to England. And it was really, I would do that. And I would just practice saying different things to different people.
I can see you doing this.
Right. Of course I would do that. Just to see how I would feel saying those things. And I would notice when I would feel like I needed to explain myself
or back it up. Yeah.
Or justify what I've done in the past to validate myself.
Yeah.
And how bizarre that actually is.
It is. It really is.
Who is that for? Is it for them or no, it's for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, and I don't since I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next. I think it might be a mixture and portfolio of things. I still have the longest to-do list. I mean, half of the stuff is still the same to-do list I started a year ago. Well, when I said I'm going to get all this done in a year, and of course now I look up and go, only about a third of it.
I'm so curious. What is on your to-do list that you haven't done? You just
write a will. I mean, the house got done. Yeah. I mean, the house was the big to-do list. I mean, that was for remodeling and gutting, and I was here every day with the workers and figuring out.
As somebody that's literally getting off this podcast to go work on our new house that we've owned for a year and done nothing. No, not nothing, but we had to sell everything in it. But still, I mean, it's a process.
And it's a big
full-time job.
What I've done. Yeah. But it seems like I had financial planning, getting more into investing, putting my own money to work versus having to work for someone else to put money to work, even if it's small amounts. I was going to do a non-executive course, which is still on my list to do because I think I might go more board routes. I had the round the world trip I did in 2010 with my best girlfriend. I was going to do these big coffee table books. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I will have so much time. I will have so much time to put all this together and relive.
Yeah.
But have I opened that disk drive and done all that? No, but it's on my list, and I do think I might try to get it done. So it's just there's always so much to do, and then you realize the important stuff kind of moves up. But the most important thing that I had on my list that I have done, and I hope I never stop doing, is 2 things. One was getting back to taking care of myself and being fit, and mobile.
Yeah, and amazing.
Yeah, and I think I really had to prioritize that. It was not in my priorities when I worked.
Yeah.
And then the second one was my friends and family, and it was I will reconnect much more intentionally, not be on my phone during dinner, not be on my phone when we're out and about, not be on my phone. And if I am, my friends are allowed to call me out on it because it's not like I'm checking, quarterly earnings, communication with our CEO or something, so, and it's been amazing because I've intentionally flown to Atlanta for a weekend to surprise my niece for her birthday, and she didn't know I was coming in. And then 6 weeks later, I did it again. And I can look for fares that are cheap, and I can just go because I can go. And so I was making myself go, right? And reconnecting with friends and seeing them in their homes for short weekends and things like that. And I said, back to you can't get the time back with people. If I don't spend it now when we're all kind of, good cognizant parts of our world. Like, when will you? And I don't want to look back ever again and think I skipped out on a year of really important things for people that I could have been there for. Do you know what I mean? As a life experience, and continue to be, present, just being present, you know? And I hope that never changes, regardless of what I do.
Well, it can't, because, and this is the one thing that I think maybe stops people from journaling. And is that, like, because once you write it, you can't unwrite it.
Yeah, that's true.
And once you know it, you can't unknow it. So, like, it now.
Yeah.
Like, and you'll fall off again, because we all do, right?
Yeah.
But it won't be as far.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, even when I fall off with my health, I still know. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go as far as I did, because I know how bad it got, because I've been there too.
Yep.
And it's like, so the fall isn't quite as far, because you do remember.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I do think with the friends and family thing, it's, I wasn't that close with my father. And I actually, I hadn't lived at home. I mean, my parents divorced when I was young. So he lived in a farm in the north, and I hadn't lived with him since I was in 8th grade. So, and then I went to high school, then went to college, and then I lived in Atlanta, then I got married, then I moved 3 states and cross country. And so it's not like I was ever like around that much, to be honest, after the age of, 14. But when I was home, I was going to see him more, and I was doing sorts of things. And it wasn't until he was really sick, and I was on my garden leave between my first company and the second one, that I went home, and I spent like a month, and every other day I was up there, and I was like, this is the first time I've done this since I was 14. Do you know what I mean? And of course I'm doing it now when he's sick. And even those memories, thank goodness it all happened around that same time, because I got to sit and read with him, and got to, I don't know, clean the room while he was hanging out with me. And do you know what I mean? Like, things that in my own life, I never would have prioritized, or been able to do, or thought to do, or seen. But I could be present at that minuscule part of time. And if I take that and extrapolate it to my parents who are getting older, and my siblings, and then my baby nieces that are growing up, I'm thinking, wow, okay, now I have to make that time. You know what I mean? Because I live in London, so I have to create it, or it won't happen at all.
Well,
and that's why I did my 50th, right? The 50th, it's basically like a wedding, and everyone kept being like, it's like, well, it's not. And I didn't have to be as serious about it, because it wasn't a wedding. It was my birthday.
You were pretty serious about it.
No, I was serious about it. No, I just meant if I didn't get the handwritten notes in the doors until Saturday afternoon, it was fine, because instead of when people arrived on Friday. So it's still pressure on me, but on myself, by the way, no one else. And the reason I created that was because I was like, how many more times in our life at the age of 50 will all of your favorite people in a big format come together and spend quality time? When will that be? And I told Joe, we came back and I said, the next time that happened might be my funeral. How shitty is that? And I was like, by the way, I'll do it again at 60, and I'll do it again. Because I was like, you got to create moments, you know what I mean? Nowadays. Otherwise everything's social, and it's one off, and that's great. But it wasn't, all you had to do was ask. And yes, we could afford to do it, and that was an amazing thing, but we prioritized that being a thing because we so wanted all the people we loved together again,
Yeah. And I mean, the money is a nice thing.
Yeah. There are other ways to do it.
Have done it.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm really mindful of that, because it would have been easy to say we couldn't go on a trip around the world because, we
didn't have money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Didn't have, whatever. And it wasn't until Derek was like, this is actually the number I need in the bank to feel comfortable leaving my career, pulling the ripcord, as we say, and going and traveling around the world. And man, once I knew that number, you've never seen anybody so motivated.
Right? I know how you get when you know exactly what needs to happen. Yes, I do.
I'm like, oh, well, that's really easy. We were out of there in 6 months.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah.
Yeah. And so,
right.
I love what you said about your dad, and that's not an accident. All of that timing, that's synchronistic, right?
It was.
We literally had Dean because of your wedding in Greece. You know that story, right?
No.
Okay. But it's about the intentionality of it, right? So what I love about your intentionality is that it spreads intentionality to all, right? Because it's all energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here you are, intentional. You have a wedding in Mykonos. We get the invitation. I'll never forget, July 2021. And I see the invitation. We'd kicked around having a second child. And I was like, okay, so this is October 2022. This is the wedding. I'm not missing it. And Derek was like, okay, yeah, I think we should go. And he was like, and I was like, but do you want to have a second child? And he was like, yeah, I mean, most people don't want to be only children. I was like, fair. We had it pretty good with Jack. So I wasn't really looking to rock the boat with a second child. And as you know, Dean came out like a lion. So we really, got our asses handed to us with him, and we wouldn't change it. But like, man, it's been a bumpy ride. And I told Derek, I was like, well, I'm ovulating in 10 days. We can get pregnant in August or September. And otherwise, the door is closed because I'm not missing this wedding because of a baby.
Yeah. Well, then, I didn't realize that you planned Dean's birth around my wedding.
I literally did. I'm not joking. I was like, I want to be very clear with you. I'm not missing this wedding. I've wanted Tracey to find the love that she's found. Yep. It's in my homeland of Greece. I've never been to Mykonos, which is the only island there that I haven't been to. And we're going. And I bet my mom will come and take care of this new baby that we're going to have. And it all worked out. And the poor thing, now she won't travel with us because. But I say that because like, even it's such I want you to get what a gift it is to the people that are in your life.
Oh.
Because everything happened with my dad, as you know.
I do.
And your birthday party was a month after I put him in the memory care unit of the VA on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And your birthday was what, June 6th, 7th, 8th?
Yep.
Yeah. And I needed to go, and I needed to be reminded that he was safe, that I didn't have to go every day, twice a day, all the days that I was going.
Yep.
And Tracey, I came back and like, we went to pick him up for a baseball game last week to watch Jack's all-star game. Jack got selected to be on an all-star team. And my dad didn't come because he was busy playing dominoes with his buddies.
And you're like, fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah. Like, it gave me so much freedom that I hadn't been feeling. And Derek was like, what are you most excited about to go to Tracey's birthday party before we went? And I was like, I'm most excited for us to remember who we are.
You're not the only couple that said that, right? Because I would say of the exactly 50 people who are there, well, 49, including myself, the 50th, 85% have kids.
Yeah.
And are grown and have multiple, and a lot of them have teenage and whatever, but they're like, you have no idea how excited we have been to have a weekend away as adults. Like, do you know what I mean? And with friends that are, that you can reconnect with and I know people made connections well outside of everybody knew each other from the wedding, which is why it's so amazing, because I didn't feel like I was hosting. I wasn't hosting. I was introducing people. I was like, you guys can knock yourself out because you all hung out.
We already knew each other.
Everybody knew each other. So people were going off doing their own things during the week, and I couldn't have made me happier. Do you know what I mean? To see these friendships individually blossom. I mean, the fact that you and Derek stayed with Joe and another friend of ours in Somerset next to the venue. I was like, I'm sorry, how do you guys know each other? And you're like, oh, wait, just from your wedding. And so we called them and we stayed with them. And I was like, that is amazing. Like, because
I was literally asking Joe for a hotel recommendation. She was like, stay with us if you want it. Like, we have kids. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, you have girls. That's like great with us. Like,
they're like saints. Yeah.
I mean, I have to show you. Wait, I'm going to grab it real quick. Hang on. Okay. So this is what, and I have a card to send to you. This is what Martha made me. This is what it says, because we're on a podcast. Anna, I love you. We spent an afternoon together, guys. You're the best. I love you. Move to the neighbor's house. I will miss you. You look beautiful. You are the best person ever. Look at this.
Well, okay, now I'm going to take issue. I'm going to call Martha and be
She
like,
she made you a card
oh, did she?
for you, but I'm sending it to you. It's your birthday card. No, not to
Well,
worry. This all got spurred on by making a birthday card for you. So.
Oh, well, and the thing is I look at that and go, now you guys are friends and you guys will have your own relationships. I like the next day people are posting with like one of the guys when the guest was in Berlin having drinks with my best up there. I'm like, when did they? How did they?
I know.
Who did they? And they're separately communicate. And what I think about is like the universe is. If you're open, one of the things I said on my themes was like you have to be open, and I have learned this from other people that accepting of people and new people and welcoming will always pay dividends. You know what I mean? And so all the collection of the 50 were people from my adulthood, from the time I moved to New York, and then when I moved to Texas, and then when I moved to London, and then when I looked around the room and realized I've kind of collected all these friends because they welcomed me. Do you know what I mean? Into their circles and their lives. Because I was the one to the transplant. And all I do was want to give them the same in return. You know what I mean? And it does work that way when you're kind to others. Things just happen for the right reasons, and you can feel good about them. You know, whether you're having it all or not, you can give that gift always.
Well, and that's it. That is the all.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I agree with you.
Like sometimes, I mean, Derek and I work together, obviously, and we spend a lot of time together. And he's just like, won't it be great when? And it's easy to get hooked on, like, but right now.
Yeah.
But like, won't it be fun to look back and be like, that was actually it?
Like, that was the win.
That was right.
Yeah.
I mean, especially we have such small kids. Like Dean couldn't swim last week. What is today? I don't even know what today is. Anyway, he couldn't swim last week. Was like paddling around the steps, wouldn't leave the steps. And then I had like 10 kids over on Friday, and I look around the pool and I can't find Dean. He's in the middle of the pool, not drowning. Guess what? Dean can swim. Dean's swimming laps across the pool, right? And it's like that. That's the memory I'm gonna remember. Not all the things that's not, that we're wishing would move faster, or what isn't working out on this project, or whatever it is.
Yep. I
will not be a memory.
Yeah. Yeah. But how you're treated in those special moments of seeing someone else become the best that they can be, you will always remember. Yeah. With your help somehow, hopefully, is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I think about what's next and, what I enjoy doing and what I'm good at, but also how to like put that into something that I can have a purpose and a mission. I won't pretend to know that I know what those things are, but I know I have to go explore them and know what they're not, and that's the time I've got to give myself to kind of work through what this is. And I don't know if I'll be a high powered exec. I might be. You might open one day on Wall Street Journal and be like, well, Tracey did that in that company, but it will because I'm culturally aligned. I believe in what the group is doing, and I have found that I can have impact in whatever that is. And I don't think I've been able to demonstrate that in the previous kind of role, which is why I was struggling, as personally, like, what I mean, as a health wise and everything else,
Yeah. I think that you bring up such a good point when it comes to health. And it's one of the first things when I'm teaching somebody, whether I'm coaching with them, but I always teach people how to journal, because I essentially want to replace myself with a journal, right? I don't want people needing me. I want them to be able to do it themselves. And the first place that I'll show somebody is to talk about what's going on in your body.
Yeah.
Is because it doesn't lie. Your mind can lie to you, right? It will say bullshit all the time, imposter syndrome, things like that. But your body won't.
Yeah. That's a very interesting point. Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's like lately, like there have been, all these things happening in my family. And I got pink eye, which is really, really weird. And the kids did not have pink. I mean, I'm a mom, so like that kind of tracks. Kids didn't have pink eye. I had pink eye, inexplicably out of nowhere. And your eyes, when you have anything going on with your eyes, it's not wanting to see the future. And man, did I not want to see what I thought my future was going to be like. right? My dad had Alzheimer's and I was becoming his primary caregiver. Boom, pink eye. Then when his girlfriend was passing away, I started breaking out in hives on my hands. Hands are gripping, clutching, not wanting to let go.
Mm.
So
Wow.
when I would pay attention to what was going on in my body, it gave me a lot of really good material to write about. I'm like, what am I not wanting to let go of? Right.
That's really interesting. Now I'm gonna have to go journal.
You can do a
Yeah,
voice memo. You can do a voice memo while you're gardening.
yeah, you're right. Okay.
You can
I'm gonna do
dictate.
my
No, you can
local
dictate.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do a voice to dictation, right? There are ways to do
Okay.
it.
It's actually good to write because we don't write anymore. I don't write anymore. I heard the other day that they, and I don't know if this is true. I don't have kids of my own, so I don't know. But that they've taken out cursive in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I know. I have a friend who has twin boys. They're 7, and their summer school with her at home is cursive in the morning.
Because
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful way to
Such a beautiful.
communicate. Do you know what I mean? Like I still write handwritten cards, and people think that's like I write thank you notes, and but like by
Yeah.
hand. Yeah, you can do text and you can do other things, and I
Not the
appreciate
same.
that. But I love getting handwritten
Yeah.
things. So and then I think, well, if I love them, then surely other people love them. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And obviously I have tons of data on like the handwriting process. And you had mentioned this earlier, I think before we hit record, like it's really important to also like be a little bored.
Yeah.
And also because I had somebody, when I thought I would write a book when I was pregnant with Jack. That was dumb. Like I have a friend that did it. She was like, I was so creative. That was not my experience being pregnant. So anyway, so I had this delusional thought that I would write a book. And so my book coach would advised me to type instead of write my journal.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it. And I did it for about 6 months. And then I went to go look back on it and it just deleted. It just went away. It was gone forever. And it wasn't that weird.
Yeah.
And I realized that process was actually stripping the joy away from like what my notebook looks like. Like I love buying beautiful journals. I usually buy them traveling.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the trip that I was on, the person that I was going to see, the experience that I just had. It's all memory building.
Yeah, that's really good.
And so, and also I'm always thinking very fast. So it is such a joy to start my day slowing down because I know I'm going to ramp up. I can count on that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a nice, like easing into it's like the difference of like jumping off into the deep end of Barton Springs versus like slowly walking into like the beach entry where it's warmer.
Yeah.
It gets colder and shocking. Like that's kind of like my day.
Yeah. No, I mean, and no, I think it's a really good point about writing because like the most creative things, like what I've been able to do this year is I forced myself to go take a drawing class and a painting class.
Yes.
And things like, I used to love doing at the age of 10, 11, 12, 14. And I did paint a little bit as an adult. And then I was like, I don't have a space for it. I don't have a place to put it. I don't, like, it's messy. I don't really have time. I'm never going to finish it. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of just fell out of like that. And I just went to more of my work, kind of modes all the time. And so I made myself go do this. And I was amazed in this class that I could spend 7 hours drawing a vase.
Easy.
And then I get to the end and they're like, we're done. I'm like, no, I'm not finished with the vase. And then, but like one was like 2 spray paint cans, literally 2 spray paint cans. And 6 hours later, I was like, oh, I haven't finished the spray paint cans. And they're like, well, you can take it home and continue to work on it because, you did take a photo. And I was like, how did I just spend 6 hours drawing spray paint cans? Like, but it to really just to let yourself go slow and think and look and think and look and write, it would be the same thing. It's like, how can I, like, I could have probably written for hours and hours and hours, you know what I mean? And then like, how am I not like done with getting all the stuff out of my head?
I've been journaling for 17 years. There's just no shortage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I laughed because your last email or whatever was saying, oh yeah. Yeah. And I feel really sorry for whoever reads my journals because they're going to get really bored.
So bored. It talks about making a lot of money and losing 10 pounds. Yeah. Oh, and then for the first 10 years, finding the love.
Yeah.
And now it's about like figuring out the career stuff. and
Yeah.
then it'll be about a house, and then it'll be about a boat. I don't know. It's all
Yeah.
a bunch of dumb shit.
Yeah.
But you know
But
where it doesn't have to be? In my head.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's
And
a really good tactic.
that I appreciate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
And so do
so,
we.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so does my husband. Yeah. So I'm curious what you would tell somebody who's listening to this and is like, oh, I really would love to slow down. I may not have the luxury to like leave a job, but if there's something that you've learned in the last year that's like a way to do that, that's been really helpful.
Walking. Walking and listening to
Mm-hmm.
podcasts. I used to be more of a runner, or I thought I was. I really wasn't. I was a basketball player, so I
Yeah,
kind of ran for a bit, and I never really loved it.
yeah.
But it was a way to get out and move and do things. But what I realized after I broke my foot, I don't know, 6 years ago, and couldn't quite run the way I used to, and it wasn't as comfortable. And I had put on some weight, so that wasn't comfortable running anyway. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I started walking everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that my appointments or my things, and then I can do this 'cause I'm in London, right? But there's probably other ways to people. You can just get up and walk in the morning, and actually,
I do.
when I go to Thailand, I do this detox thing. I go for like anywhere between 10 days and 21, and I do a cleanse. And I haven't gone this year, but I've gone most years. And the first thing it starts out with is a 5:45 a.m. walk, and you can do a 5K, 10K, and you just walk at your own pace. And the whole group goes, but some people walk together and chat, some people don't. I tended to walk by myself, and just like take it in. And sometimes it was slower, and then it got faster, like as I was there for a handful of days because I got used to walking. And then I'd get back, and it's only 6:45 or 7 in the morning, and I remember being like, I've just done a whole walk and had
Mm-hmm.
time to just
Mm-hmm.
think and reflect and move. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
and then what I started doing here was I was like, well, I'm just going to walk to appointments between stuff. I'm going to put a podcast on. I'm going to make myself figure out a podcast series that I can enjoy, that I might, because I was like, I never felt like I was on top of the world news enough, right? I'm not going to read a newspaper. I've tried that. I've subscribed to The Economist, and I never read it. I got to, like, I always had these things that I should be doing because you have to be more relevant and whatever. And I was like, I'm taking all the pressure off. I'm just going to find a podcast I really like that has some
Mm-hmm.
source of information and reflective. And I found one. And I found myself just putting it on and listening to Rory while I'm walking. And it could be in between things. It'd be waiting for a cab. It could be making myself go to the grocery store. But I always was like, what normally would have been appointments, I would book at like 9 o'clock for my nails. And then let's say it's 10:30 on a Saturday. Let's just pretend it's a weekend. And then it'd be like 10:30, and then it'd be 11:30. I'd do this, blah, blah. I was like, I'm actually going to allow an hour between those things, and I'm gonna walk between them. Like, I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
take an Uber. I'm not going to take a tube. I'm not going. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I just got to the point where
Mm-hmm.
I found myself walking everywhere,
Yeah.
and I was losing weight, and I felt better, and I was listening to my podcast. I was like triple
Yeah.
tasking. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's where I found my synergies of time. Do you know what I mean? Of things that were important to me. And I think that's the one thing I would say to most people is, I know some people are great about going to a workout class and doing all those things. Good for you. And everything, everybody works in different ways. But for me, the walking was one you could do anywhere, at any time, at any
Mm-hmm.
weight, and still also do something else that you were trying to get accomplished. But
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
still accomplishes what you need it to, which is movement and time to think or do.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably my big one for the year.
Mm. I love that. And what's the podcast that you were?
It's This Is Politics. It's a UK, and there's one in the US as well, that my husband has turned me on to as well. And it's basically talks about first of all, it's two guys, and it's someone from both the Democrat and Republican in the US, and then here it's Labor, and whatever the other one is. And basically what they do is they debate a topic, and they discuss a topic. They don't really debate it. They literally talk about, okay, well, this happened. What do we think that
Yeah.
means? How would that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
for this? What are the implications? How would that go? So I found
Mm-hmm.
myself being relevant on current news without having to go just scroll through news in the Guardian every morning, which
Sure.
I just knew I wasn't going to do because I never have. I'm not going to create
Mm-hmm.
new things, you know what I mean, that I don't
Mm-hmm.
technically enjoy. But I enjoyed that because I was learning, I was getting perspective, which is what I really wanted out of reading articles and news. And I liked the funny banter of things, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm more educated on some of
Yeah.
these things that are great because I live here in the UK, right? But then I started listening to the US one, and it was great because I also got to then hear another side of things, and
Mm-hmm.
I found that I found it enjoyable. Do you know what I mean? And a
Yeah.
funny way to pass the time. And then you could pause it 20 minutes in, and you can still pick it up later. Right? It
Yeah.
wasn't like a thing like where you're skimming through things. And I think for me, it's just fun. It's a fun and an interesting one, and it's balanced, I would say, in its views.
Yeah. Well, when you're looking to lose some brain cells and just
bring it on. Yeah.
I've got one for you. When you're looking to just have it be complete fluff, right? I've got lots of those, but I'm going to give you I think the best one is my dad wrote a porno.
You told me this, and actually, I think
and it's British.
I think my husband has listened to this. It's a woman.
No, it's two friends and the son of the guy who wrote the porn book. Okay. So guys, if you haven't listened to this, it's my dad wrote a porno, I think is what.
And by the way, I'm probably not going to ride the tube and be like, hey, let me put this on with my image screen. I can imagine here in London.
I mean, I think it's fine. Everybody would know it. It's British. Like everyone will know it. It's not okay. But his dad wrote like a soft porn book, and it's him and a guy friend and a girlfriend who read the book on the podcast. Okay. And they're like, your dad wrote this. And like the whole time they're reading it is like, your dad wrote this and he's married to your mom. And like, what? And it is hysterical. They've been on tour together. Like it is beyond funny. It's still British, so you'll appreciate that.
Okay, great. I will do that. I'm certain that Joe has listened to that, and I was thinking you've got to be crazy. But no,
what is it?
I think it was that.
Joe listened to it.
Yeah.
And then I listen to my news from Trevor Noah. Like I love Trevor Noah. So like it's not. I should switch to This Is Politics, but Trevor Noah with the South African accent and all of his humor.
Yeah.
Always.
I do also like their accents. It's true.
Yeah, I know. I go for the accents.
Yeah.
Right. That's why we watch Bluey in our house.
He's the Australian dog, right?
Yeah.
Is he a dog? Yeah.
Blue heelers. Yeah. Well, thank you 1 million times.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I mean, I always, when you asked me to do this, I was thinking, who's going to want to listen to a podcast about, and I love it that you just named it with Tracey Countryman, as if that means anything to anybody other than, me and you. But I appreciate the time. Yeah.
We will just out, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, that's actually why I don't listen to podcasts. I haven't listened to the podcast in a really long time. Like there are a couple that I'll dance around, but especially when I was starting my own, I needed to not listen to anyone else's. Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want imposter syndrome, all that. Like I know like my trip ups. And one of them is that people are always interviewing like famous people, big time, all these. And I'm like, I don't
actually. Of course I would like to be that person. And if I had someone who cooked for me every day and made me work out, I could do that too.
Well, and I'm just like, I want to hear from the amazing people that I have in my life.
Yeah.
And get to know you in this different way because you are everyone you've ever met.
Touche. Look at that close, Anna Morris. Well done.
You're welcome. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. You can find more of this podcast at annakmorris.com. And I hope to see you on the next episode. Thank you, Tracey.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. It is an honor and a privilege to have this conversation with you as we expand in the world. What is it that we want? Do we believe that we can have it all? I hope this episode gave you some insights and some things to think about, and most importantly, some actions to go and take in your own life. If one of those actions is reaching out to me, I'm so thrilled and honored. You can always find me on my website, annakmorris.com, and you can always send me an email, hello@annakmorris.com. DM, texting, if you have my number, any of that is great too, and I would love to be in touch with you and help you have it all. I love you, and thank you so much for being here.